Warning, this video is intended for adult collectors. It contains plastic collectibles, questionable opinions, and someone that's given too much money to Hasbro. Do not panic. This is just a random review.
So admittedly, I am recording a lot of these back to back in one long slog, so you will forgive me if I take it easy here and give myself a little bit of a quick one to do. And we're going to talk about Core Class Iguanus, the new mold for Legacy Wave 1's Core Class, and probably one of the most ambitious in Legacy period, as we have attempted to turn a Pretender shell into a fully fledged Transformer. We have not done this since Skullgrin back in the original Generations line. It's been a long time. I don't even have that figure anymore, and I kind of wish I did, so I could have some Decepticon Pretenders lined up on a shelf in some really weird way. Not that this isn't already weird. I've got the power of the Prime ones, so he just now towers over them in this really awkward way. But let's see how it actually came out, because it's a curious one. So, as we can see in vehicle mode, it's kind of taking the Junkion approach to motorcycles, in that it barely looks like a motorcycle. It really just looks like a robot holding two wheels, desperately clinging on for fear of careening out of control on the highway. That's the feel I'm getting out of Iguanus. I get the same out of Wreck-Gar, to be fair. He is a very kind of cobbled together motorcycle mode, trying desperately to imitate the vehicle mode that the inner robot of that toy was capable of. The canopy, as well as the shape of the wheels, trying to emulate how that vehicle mode looked. To, and it's an okay degree, I guess, if we're homaging it rather than trying to recreate it. I do like the coloration here. It's a very nice shade of purple, and gold is always a sure bet when it comes to colorations. Purple and gold works really well. You have this nice hit of red, and it's not like a straight up red. It's closer to a maroon. Well, we'll be honest about it. Around here, that's definitely a vivid red. Once we get to the wheels, it is more of a maroon color, more of a magenta. That's closer to how the original plastic on Iguanus looked. So that harkens back. It would have been nice if all of this section was actually, like, if these had been black wheels and everything in here was the maroon, or I keep saying maroon, it's magenta. I feel like Kamen Rider Decades in my head, it's magenta. I haven't called it pink yet, so I'm doing okay. But that's how the original one looked, where the entire undercarriage was in that magenta color. I really kind of wish they'd try to replicate that here. I do like some of the other clever elements. What will end up being essentially the tail in the robot mode has become the bike seat, which actually makes sense. Like, it actually just looks like a bike seat. I think it's the one element that actually blends Iguanus's parts into the bike, because the rest of it surely doesn't. Here's a foot. There's a very organic lizard-like foot just clinging for life next to the wheel. There's the hips and the robot mode legs. Here's the robot mode arms, fists visible and all. You know, as I said, it's very Junkion in approach. I wouldn't be surprised if this got remolded into Wreck-Gar at some point. It just has that kind of feel to it, you know? But overall, at the very least, it's an interesting look. I will say, there is one issue with the mode. There is no kickstand. If you are very good at balancing and you have a very flat surface that's, actually level, you can actually get it to stand up on the wheels. But that is not the easiest of tasks, especially when a waist joint rotation is involved in the transformation and things can be just a little bit slightly off. Let's see. There we go. There we go. Takes a little bit of doing, but it can be done. Oh, it passed the breath test. So, we can arm him up. He's got a 5mm port up there, and that is big enough to put his particular brand of weaponry. They did state, Hasbro, one of their Q&As, did state that a lot of these weapons that weren't part of the original designs for the toys are meant to just be extras thrown in that you can piece together your own weapons out of. It's a kid-centric gimmick. So, yeah, it's definitely not his original weapon. I would have liked to have seen his actual gun, at least some semblance of it. All right, robot mode. How about we actually transform him and see what we're getting? All right, so I'm going to unclip the leg from both the side of the tail and the side of the wheel, like so. Stretch him out. He's been on the road a long time. He needs a good stretch. All right. Tilt his ankles and then rotate the feet around. I actually rotated them the wrong way, but we'll fix that here in a minute. Until then, we're going to unclip the fists from the front wheel, the arms pegged into these little pins here on the side. So rotate those down, rotate the arms into their proper orientation. Now, this is the fun part here. This is the one kind of like weirdo transformation trick this toy has. So we're trying to overlap these a little bit. So they kind of fold together into such shape. That will then combine with the front of the vehicle, which we'll unclip like that, rotate down, close up, and that forms like a nice little solid backpack of just stuff, which I guess that's one way to look at it. We can talk about it later when we get to the robot, which we're almost there. Don't worry. Rotate the waist around, fix my transformation mistake. You won't have to do that, but I will. And that's going to give us Iguanus in his robot mode, looking very sharp indeed. So, it's a pretty simple transformation for its size. Of course it is. It's a core class, and everything about his vehicle mode was pretty apparent what it was going to be in the robot mode. No real surprises to this toy, but hey, it's a core class. What can you expect? So, if we take a look at him, I will bring him closer so we can focus in and take a look at him. I really dig that head sculpt. I really love this. Recasting as the Pretenders, the biggest thing about it is the heads especially are going to look so different. He's got this scaly, organic look all the way through him, which is so different from your standard G1 because that's what Pretenders were trying to do. It was trying to get away from the G1 aesthetic that wasn't selling well anymore. So Decepticons became these weird monsters. Iguanus is an interesting one to start with because he's not one of the most well-known Pretender Decepticons. I'd probably pass it off to Bombburst or Skullgrin or certainly Bludgeon. But this is an interesting place to start this little experiment. Now, I'm gonna leave him zoomed in here because he is a smaller figure. The gold has definitely taken over on this torso. More of the red is now visible. Get a little bit of gold on the knee as well. You can now tell that the forearm is almost entirely painted black, just leaving that fist exposed. Very, very nice. Very nice bit of coloring. Lots of paint to him for his size. I dig that. I could use a little bit of paint on the teeth because it's hard to tell if his mouth is closed or open. I think it's open and kind of grimacing. Like I said, it's hard to tell from the sculpting without that paint. I would have really liked that. I also kind of like how the wheel pack formed up. They actually look really good behind him. Like he's actually got some kind of like jetpack VTOL thing going on. I like how solidly it all forms up together. You know, completely hiding all the weird shaped arms that the wheels attach to for the transformation. And then, of course, yeah, he's got a little bit of a lizard tail there. Nice little touches like that. So, yeah, the toy itself, I really do dig the look of here. So, if we want play value, he's got 3mm pegs here, so he can actually hang on to one side of his weapon. The weapon itself does have a 5mm and 3mm peg, so core classes as well as deluxes and larger can hold it as well. You get 5mm ports at the bottom of the feet, so thanks to the transformation, as well as 5mm ports in the back of the legs. Not entirely sure how you're going to use those, but they're available to you. And of course, you also have that at the top. His hands can actually accommodate 5mm posts, but only on the bottom side, thanks to the weirdness of the transformation. So you have that as well. If you can figure out a use for it, it's there. So articulation, yeah, sure, why not? A little bit of motion in the head. He is a little bit obstructed because his face is so long. Also, those horns get in the way a little bit too. Shoulder joints, ball joints. Elbows are also ball jointed, so plenty of range of motion there. Waist rotation, thanks to the transformation, still present. Thigh, ball jointed all the way around. A little bit restricted in some positions, but for the most part works well. The knees ball jointed as well, so that's how you get that swivel as well as a nice 90-degree bend. And then plenty of room in the ankle, so you can actually get some pretty decent poses out of him thanks to that. So yeah, actually quite a bit of posability to this guy, considering his size. So that, I'll set him back down for the outro here. That is Core Class Iguanus. The vehicle mode is always going to be awkward, but it's an interesting experiment to try and get that Pretender shell, which really is the most memorable part of the Pretender designs, down into something that actually works like a proper Transformer. He definitely has some charm to him, and he's definitely got some merit, and definitely some playability I didn't expect. But for the most part, he does show the fact that he is an experiment. If you go into it just looking for like a cool little Iguanus and view the vehicle mode, not so much as a necessity or half the toy, but more just like a cool trick he can do, then you're probably going to be happy with him. He's a nice little guy. Beyond that, if the vehicle mode is really important to you, yeah, probably not saving this one, but I do think that would be selling him short. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.